Hello, welcome to episode 4 of the St. Louis Spirits draft day thing. And so in honor of the very nature of what draft day is, I'm actually going to lead off by kind of going through the current mock draft that is showing. As you can see, things are looking pretty good as far as the draft picks for the St. Louis Spirits. They have projected for the number 2 overall pick. I doubt that Armin Gilliam's actually the route that I would go in this situation, but there's at least somebody there. So there's that. I don't remember the Bulls and the Jazz with their protections, but yeah, I gotta say, yeah, Armin Gilliam, Derek McKee, and Jack Haley, who I think like between the three of them are most famous for Jack Haley just being like Dennis Rodman's friend. But that is what's available. But the good news here is with those original teams that are listed, notice a distinct lack of St. Louis Spirits listed there because this team is 61-20, folks. This team is uh, on fire. This team has clinched the best record in the NBA. And they're in their final game playing against the Seattle team that has clinched the 8th seed in the West. So if we go to the coach's game plan, I'm basically just throwing out the backups for this game. Not going to risk injury to my main guys. Uh, as far as how this happened, so Adrian Dantley and Hakeem Olajuwon were both All Stars, which very promising. Didn't make any trades during the season. Just things were going well. There weren't really any like obvious candidates to trade. Let's go to the stats though. Let's see how things are looking for this team. So, because of sitting the stars, this will be Hakeem Olajuwon's first non-starting game. And then Johnny Davis and Bob McAdoo have played in 81 games, if really starting, as has Chris Mullin. Points wise, Adrian Daly became the star scorer on this team. Olajuwon's points have gone down a little bit, but not too much, considering that like a true scorer joined the team. Efficiency wise has improved. He's assisting half an assist more per game. Still got the steals and blocks like crazy. Turnovers are down. Field goal percentage is up. He was overall becoming just all around a much better player. Chris Mullins at 16.3, so he's ticked up a little bit as well. Dennis Johnson, 10.7 is not an amazing number of points, but yeah, has been just a generally good player for this team. Let's go to the advanced numbers. Look at the estimated wins added. Adrian Dantley and Hakeem Olajuwon. So unlike in previous seasons where there was like maybe 2 or 3 guys who had good numbers and everybody else was really falling off, quite a few guys with positives. Brad Doherty, who's currently hurt, so we'll see if he actually ends up playing the playoffs. He's been a little bit underwhelming this season, admittedly. He's kind of alternated with Larry Nance as far as who is playing at power forward, but hasn't exactly been like a premium offensive player, but has had his moments defensively. Granville Waiters has been not very good. He's also a pending free agent who I have no intention of re-signing. But I'll do the Simcast thing here. I really doubt I'm going to jump in unless it is just like tooth and nail at the end. It'd be fun to win the game, but like I said, it's a bunch of backups, and at this point, the Spirits are. Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily care about this. David Wingate got hurt. I can see that there's a green W back there, so I'm glad that I didn't have the Stars playing. So I got the win though. Magic Johnson once again is MVP. That is 4 straight MVPs, I believe it is for Magic, who I tried to acquire last offseason to no avail. Not that I needed him, it turns out. Yeah, 4 straight MVPs. That's pretty good. Len Bias wins Rookie of the Year with the Kings. Jay Humphreys wins Sixth Player of the Year for the Blazers. Hakeem, for the 3rd consecutive year, is Defensive Player of the Year. Just has become just a true like dominant force in the game, and definitely the first true superstar for the St. Louis Spirits. Del Bledsoe got Most Improved Player. Let's see what his stats were looking like prior to this. Yeah, definitely took on a bigger role, looks like, this year. No arguments there. Coach of the Year is my man, Michael Stauffer. Executive of the Year, hey, look at that. My ears do not look like that. That is my stance. But uh, honored to have won Executive of the Year. Honored for my man Michael Stouffer, who is definitely looks like he's going to be the coach for the foreseeable future for this team. Excited about it. All NBA first team. Kind of a who's who of superstars. Magic and Michael get first team. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and then there's our man Hakeem. That's the second year in a row, I believe, that he got first team All NBA. Yep. And then, yeah, three times being Defensive Player of the Year. He's off to a rip roaring start in his career. Second team All NBA, we have Clyde and Isaiah Thomas. Len Bias, as a rookie, ends up making the second team. Let's look what his stats look like because, I mentioned that there are a lot of draft classes where he's just completely out of control. He's an 82, which is good, but not like unprecedented. But I mean, he put up some good numbers right away. Just a really strong overall player. Then Dominique Wilkins and Ralph Sampson. All defensive first team, you have Sidney Moncrief and Clyde Drexler, Xavier McDaniel and Len Bias. Yeah, just talk about a guy who's cooking early on, and then Hakeem, of course, once again. Magic and Michael get the guard spots. Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, the forward spots. Ralph Sampson gets the center spot. All rookie first team, we have Len Bias, Johnny Dawkins, who I noted has a track record in some of these things, but I did not end up taking him. Walter Berry, Mark Price, Ron Harper. Second team, we do have Brad Daugherty on there. So we have Dennis Rodman, Brad Daugherty, William Bedford, Drazen Petrovic, and Chuck Person. And then looks like we will be squaring off against the Indiana Pacers. So let's just simulate at least the beginning of this to see, whether we get Daugherty back. It looks like no. Let's just do an automatic kind of. Yeah, so the automatic lineup has Larry Nance starting at the power forward. He's 6'10", so he's a pretty oversized small forward as is. I think that this makes sense, especially with Daugherty not being there. Looking at kind of where these lineups go, I think that, honestly, Pearl Washington doesn't really. There's no real need to play him because we have so much power at the point guard position. Let's go ahead and put Granville Waiters in there. Let's see how the rotations look there. So, yeah, Waiters, McAdoo. Yeah, the guards. Okay, I think this will work out. Larry Nance actually not playing any minutes at small forward, which is a little unusual, but we'll go with that. So we have the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, disregarding the scout advice, but I'm not too worried about that. Simulate through. My propensity to jump into these games will be a little bit higher because they're playoff games. So at this point, doing, just took the ball and ran. So, good first playoff game in the history of the St. Louis Spirits. Adrian Dantley gets 26. Spud Webb gets 25, which I don't know if that's a career high, but that's up there. He's not necessarily a high. Yeah, 25 is his career high. So he equals his career high, which I don't think counts playoff stats. But regardless, pretty good way to acclimate yourself to the postseason. Let's see what happens in game 2. Second quarter really looking good for the Spirits. Yeah, this one's over in game 2. A 37-point victory. Hakeem Olajuwon gets 22 and 24. My God. Yeah, I don't think that this. I think this Pacers team truly is an 8 seed. At this point, this is best of 5 series, so only need to win one of the next 3. I'm just going to keep the lineups as is. I know the scout advice. We'll revisit that once this game's over, win or lose. Honestly, Pacers are kind of keeping up here, though. Yeah, it looks like they're going to win this game. Sabonis gets 28. Clark Kellogg, okay. Not a horrible game, but nothing too exceptional there. So Brad Daugherty now is able to. I guess he's been upgraded to he's hurt, but he's not doing terribly. I think that this actually should work out a little bit better. Getting him with some of those minutes instead of a guy like Granville, who hasn't been very good, throughout the season. I'd rather have even a banged up rookie Brad Daugherty rather than a guy that I'm happily letting walk in the offseason. So the Pacers have a small lead here. Getting a little nervous here. This game's close. I'm going to jump in with 45 seconds left, though. 5-point lead, and the Pacers have the ball. Not ideal. I think I'm going to try to press here rather than going for intentional foul per se. If I try to get a steal, that would be optimal. If Kellogg wants to put a shot up, that'd be excellent. Mullen, good defense. Oh, and he got the ball back. That's a bit of a backbreaker there. Gonna have to try something here. Adrian Dantley, no. Out to Elijah Wan. We'll try Mullen. 3. Nope. And yeah, this is not looking great. So we're gonna have to go to Game 5. It looks like back at St. Louis Arena. Good effort, boys, but man, it's going to be rough if we lose in the first round of our very first playoff series. But we'll see what happens here. I don't necessarily think that this is a team that's going to win the championship, but I feel like this team should be able to at least get out of the first round. All right, so this is for a chance to play the Washington Bullets. Spirits have a slight lead. Little nerve. Oh, that's okay. So we have a genuinely close game. Minute 36 left. Pacers are up by 1, but at least we're not in the walking on eggshells situation we were with our last game. Man, that is a beautiful court. Look at all that orange in the crowd.
The Pacers with possession here. They lead by 1. And Thompson kicks to Jenkins.
I don't love Spud Webb on defense in this situation, especially if he's going against David Thompson, but what are you going to do?
Thompson outside. 5 on the clock.
If you could force a Thompson shot, I would gladly take that.
St. Louis with the rebound. Here's Johnson. Outside Mullen. To take the lead.
Oh,
from Williams.
Nice defense there, from Herb Williams.
Force the miss, especially against someone of his caliber.
Thompson dishes to Jenkins. Here's Kellogg, covered by Johnson.
Clark Kellogg, that's the second game in a row that Kellogg got his own offensive board, but this time at least doesn't convert.
Webb kicks to Nance. Williams with the steal.
Oh, that's a rough loss of the ball there by Larry Nance. We got a 6-second gap. I don't want to intentionally foul here. There's enough time left. Let's see if I have a timeout. Oh, it might be grayed out. Fortunately, the scoreboards here don't show if there's timeouts left, so I don't know. So I will have to pause it to determine if I want to do it. Okay, damn, we play him tough. Oh, nice play there. Okay, I do have timeouts left, so... Oh, I have a ton of timeouts left. Yeah, if I can get a clear kind of path to the hoop, I'll take an easy 2, but I don't want to have to settle for it. Luckily, in this game, teams aren't going to generally foul with a team that is up 3. But I think they have waiters there. Okay, we'll put McAdoo in. McAdoo and Doherty are not good 3-point shooters, but I'm not going to be shooting with them anyway. So yeah, Mullen and Dantley are far and away the guys. We'll put Spud Webb out there as well. Actually, no, we'll put DJ out there in case we need him on defense. All right. Let's make this work, boys.
Here's Dantley.
Oh, that was too early of a shot. Okay, got to foul intentionally. That's a bummer. At least not a very good. He's only 3 fouls, so might have to foul him again. I think I might, which is a bummer because I'd rather have a lesser shooter there. Yeah. I'll try to heavily guard here, but probably not going to pull that off, though. We'll be able to call a timeout right. All right, so David Thompson only needs 1 free throw to effectively ice this. Ugh, okay. Got to be honest, not looking great for the team here. All right, I'm going to call a timeout and at least advance the ball, but not really sure how to possibly justify this. Get the ball in, Chris Mullen or Adrian Dantley's hands here.
Outside, Mullen. A shot. No
Yeah,
good.
all right,
And
so
they do it. They'll move on
that is going to
round
eliminate
two.
the
And
St. Louis
that about
Spirits.
wraps it
They
up
had the
for
best
this
record in the
broadcast
NBA,
of
and they
the
lost to the
NBA
Indiana
Eastern Conference
Pacers.
quarterfinals. For
Little
Mike
Jenkins
Fratelli,
out there is
Mark Kellogg, and
ludicrously
David Aldridge.
tattooed, particularly for the era. But yeah, not a great game, honestly, for this team. I mean, honestly, Olajuwon fouling out, 26 minutes played, not what you want there. I think this team, even once you get past Dantley and Dantley and Nance, still kind of feel like there's something else there. There's something going on here. We're might be looking at trading up with all these trading picks we have, because I feel like we're only a piece or two away. But let's just simulate the rest of the playoffs. The Pistons are champions. Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas, Finals MVP. Mavericks lose in the finals, so it's a 3 seed versus a 2 seed. Not optimal for the old Spirits, but we'll see what happens here. Bob McAdoo is retiring, which I don't remember if we had him on a 1 year or 2 year, but that's fine. I think technically I can drag him out of retirement, but I'm not going to do that. Julius Irving, I'm just testing what my abilities here are. I love when guys are named like Al Farouk Thomas in this game. Always entertains me, always fills me with joy. But I think Caldwell Jones played. Did he play for Spirits? No, he did not. But yeah, Bob McAdoo, a legend. Don't think we're going to be retiring his number, but he gave a solid effort. Staff retirements: Wang Tripucka, Dylan Green, Hall of Fame Julius Irving. Yeah, the Hall of Fame standards by this game are a lot more stringent than in real life. Like Bob McAdoo's a Hall of Famer. Definitely nothing happened during the last few years that would have changed that. But yeah, Irving gets his number retired by the Sixers. All right, historic changes. Top 3 picks are done via random way to draw. Remaining lotto picks are determined by team record, which is honestly not amazing for us this season because we have some kind of like later lottery picks, but whatever. Logo, uniforms, and floor change for the Bullets. Uniform floor for the just a lot of cosmetic changes across the league. Go to the league meetings. None of these other proposals were particularly close to being approved, so let's see what happens in the lottery. So we do still have, I guess the 12.5 thing still applies. So we actually have nearly a 50-50, 3 and 8 chance of getting the number 1 pick. So in this case, the Clippers would get this spot unless they move up, which they don't. So that's good news for us. This is a Jazz pick. Okay. So that goes to the Spirits, which means the Jazz pick moved up, which means we're going to lose a pick. That means we'll have an unprotected next year. Okay. So number 7, that's not bad. Cavs move up. So we have one more protected pick. So that means our next pick is either going to be, oh, there we are, number 5. Okay. So yeah, did not the best of lottery luck for us. Honestly, like the best player in this draft is David Robinson. Probably not going to go hog wild to get David Robinson, considering we just drafted a center and moved him to power forward last year, and we have an elite center right now. But I mean, Reggie Miller is a really appealing player who I think would make a lot of sense. Honestly, would play well with Chris Mullin. They were teammates at one point in the NBA, but this is either the Cavs or the Jazz. So the Donovan Mitchell battle. Jazz get the number 2 pick, which works better for us because that means at least we're not going to be depending on David Robinson in all likelihood struggling to get a higher draft pick. So the Cavs go number 1. Yep. So we have 5 and 7. Let's see how the rest of this order goes. So we have the 13 and the 14 pick, and we have the 23 pick, which is our own. Yeah, there's a lot of position here to possibly move up. Okay, so now Team Doctor is a spot that I actually did want to improve. So let's see who's available on the medical side. Daryl Thomas has 4.5 stars medical. He does have an offer. Yeah, let's offer just the standard amount. CFO. Let's go with Reed Gravett. And then for the AGM, try Eugene Manning. Okay, why not? Okay, so Manning signed. So the other guys are not. So we're going to have to file some new offers here. So Team Doctor. We have some 3.5-star guys. That's at least a step in the right direction. So this guy's a 3-star, but he does have those badges, which is appealing. So we'll go ahead and make him an offer. CFO, we want somebody with a high business acumen. Gravit, we weren't able to get. Frankie Knight, though? Let's see. Okay, so we got George. Knight is mulling. Okay, so we need maybe Dante Moncrief. All right, cool. We got all our guys. Cool. Let's see what happens at the draft combine. Skim through here. So yeah, we're gonna keep seeing who we're gonna scout these guys. I mean, David Robinson's arguably unnecessary, but why not? We'll just see what's available here. Then we have a few C+ level guys. Clarence Greer. Yeah, I don't imagine a power forward is going to be. Mark Jackson's at least a possibility. Okay. We'll do Vincent Askew. We'll do Clarence Greer. Why not? And then let's see here. Horace Grant, sure. All right, so let's check out the scouting screen. Yeah, David Robinson, 84. My God. Can't imagine he's going to be made available to us, but that is appealing. Honestly, Reggie and Scotty are kind of the appealing guys here. I think Reggie kind of makes more sense just because he's a shooting guard, but I don't imagine we're going to be able to get Dantley back, but let's see what happens here. So, Cavaliers draft David Robinson, not a surprise. Let's see if we can make an offer to the Jazz. I would be willing to give up a little something extra to make a move for Reggie. Let's go Jazz. Okay, picking up. This happens a fair amount, which is honestly bizarre. There's so many cases where a player's not, where the pick can't be traded. They're actually pretty stringent on this, I guess, because they have the 88 draft pick taken. Okay, so we'll just see who they take. They take Reggie Miller, but we can still, in theory, make a move for Reggie Miller. Because even though they can't trade their pick, they can trade the rights to Reggie Miller. No offers found for him. So I'm going to go ahead and just sort of put a pause on that. Knicks takes Armin Gilliam. Nets, do I want to try to trade up for? No. Okay, so we have the pick here. I mean, Scottie Pippen honestly makes a ton of sense just because, you get somebody who can play shooting guard. You have somebody who's a really good defensive player. Honestly, kind of goes well with Chris Mullin. His comp is, Marcus Johnson. Let's see what Kevin Johnson's ranked as. No significant weaknesses. That's an interesting. Let's check on the Bulls roster because that's the one spot between us. Because if we can get Johnson and Pippen, that would be pretty ideal. So the Bulls. I mean, honestly, they're probably more likely to want Johnson just because their point guard situation is so bad, even though Orlando Warriors expired. But also, I would just rather have Scottie Pippen, so I'm going to go ahead and make the move for Pippen. Okay, so Scottie Pippen, welcome to St. Louis. Can we make a trade up for the Bulls pick, though? Not sure if that's even allowed. Looks like it's probably not. Yeah, because their 88 pick is gone. Honestly, we might have acquired that. I don't really remember, but the Bulls do take Kevin Johnson. let's see if we can make some sort of magic happen with that pick. See if we can get them to make a Kevin Johnson offer just based on. Okay, so they went Dennis Johnson and a second round pick. Uh, I mean, I would like the idea of getting like a younger guy, to move to point guard, but I don't know if I want to give up DJ. Let's see what kind of offers we can make for Reggie Miller with the Jazz, which I know we're getting a little bit kind of crossing wires here, but okay, so you can offer that pick, you can offer the 14th pick. I can't imagine they're going to take this, but I'll at least offer it. Okay, yeah, figured that probably wasn't going to happen. Yeah, the thing is, if we're not going to make the move for Kevin Johnson, I'm not sure that I necessarily want to be in this position all that badly. So let's see what kind of offers are available for this spot. If there are any like a combination of players and picks could be appealing. Bunch of teams offering me 2 first-round picks, which is lovely, but let's look at that roster again that we have. So we have, I mean, power forward is the spot that we're really hurting at, but also Brad Daugherty is probably going to kind of make a move up. How do these other guys look as far as like kind of bench depth types? Reggie Williams, Kiki Vanderwees is comp. Bob Nedelicki. Yeah, kind of flawed player there. Reggie Lewis is interesting. Honestly, Horace Grant might be a little intriguing, but let's see if we can make a move for Kevin Johnson that doesn't involve trading Dennis Johnson. Doesn't involve trading Dennis Johnson. Obviously, at this point, we're going to have to upgrade our draft picks. Let's see if they would take the 2 firsts for him. They do not. How about Spud Webb? He's an RFA, so yeah, I'm not able to trade that. What about Johnny Davis, though? I'm an older guy, doesn't necessarily have a role. Let's see if this trade. Okay, cool. We got Kevin Johnson, so now the Bulls will take Winston Garland from Missouri State, which was not even the name of that school until like 20 years after this draft. Don't think I'm going to do any trading up here, so let's just send to our next pick. Greg Anderson at 78 is still sitting there. I'm not necessarily in love with him, but man, that's an intriguing player. The Bulls have that next pick, so you know what? Let's go ahead and let's take Greg Anderson. I think at 78, it's a pretty safe player. Yep, there we go. Have another Houston guy to put alongside Mr. Olajuwon. The Bulls are trading the pick. Okay, interesting. Ken Norman. Okay. I'm going to keep an eye to see if Horace Grant goes soon, because if he doesn't, I might consider making a move, because I do like the idea of Horace Grant. Okay, let's see if the Warriors are interested in trading their pick, because that probably shouldn't take that much to get. Not, however, going to trade the guy that I already took. That seems a little silly. I take Terrence Bailey from... Okay, so I only have to move up 3 spots here. What team is this? Portland. Will Portland trade me their pick? Yeah, I'm not trading Greg Anderson. Okay, whatever. So they take Horace Grant. Let's see if they would be willing to trade me the rights to Horace Grant, though. But honestly, like, okay, 77, I still wouldn't mind having him. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. Lakers are trading for Mike Woodson. Sixers trading their pick for Trent Tucker. All right, this is still in the first rounds. Yeah, Muggsy Bogues and Dennis Hopson. I already have Spud Webb, so getting an even shorter point guard does seem kind of funny. Not particularly well scouted here. They don't have like great comps, but honestly, a decent defender. Left ankle durability concerns with Dennis Hopson. How's Muggsy's physical? It's good. Okay, let's go ahead and let's take Muggsy Bogues. Okay. He's got a 43-inch leap, thank goodness, because he's got to compensate for the fact that he's 5'3" somehow. Probably, so this is the last overall pick in the draft. Let's see if anyone's willing to give me anything for it. They are not, so what player who's in that C- range is the most likely to just kind of become an interesting prospect? A 6'11" guy, Bob McKee. Yeah, let's just draft the tall guy. When in doubt, draft the tall guy. See what happens. Feel like he's probably not going to sign, but let's move through here. Okay, so Pippen's a 78, Kevin Johnson's a 78, Greg Anderson's a 77, Muggsy Bogues a 76. I'm feeling good about that. And then Sven Meyer's a 68. That's even at 70K. I don't think so. But team options. You're saying decline Pearl Washington, which honestly probably makes sense. He wasn't bad last year, but just hasn't like necessarily done anything to break through. I don't know about David Wingate at 72, though. Yeah, I'm going to decline that as well. Definitely do the option on Mullen, do the option on Olajuwon. Things went pretty much as you would expect there. Qualifying offers. Yeah, let's do the qualifying offer to Spud Webb. Steve Coulter can do without. How many guys do I have on the roster right now? So this doesn't count a lot of the guys who are... Well, it does count the team option guys. So looking at the starting lineup, kind of in need of a shooting guard in theory, but probably going to move either Pippen or honestly might just move Mullen over because he's more of a, an offensive threat. Not sure how much money, if any. So minus 74,000. Yeah, looking at what's affordable, not a whole lot is affordable here. Unless guys are going to do the thing they did last time where they are willing to, like Alex English is willing to sign a cheap contract. Let's just see so we can sign him for the minimum. Is there anybody that I would want to clear out their salary? I don't think so. I mean, Johnson would be the closest thing, but also he's like by far going to be the best point guard option this season. And I do kind of like the idea of Kevin Johnson just kind of being the apprentice this year. So probably going to be a kind of quiet off season. Simulate through some of the days here and see if there's any guys who start dramatically reducing. So there's Adrian Dantley. Let's see what his offers are. So he's getting 1.11. I mean, that's more than he was getting last year, but kind of a weird... might just be in kind of a weird spot as far as salary structures right now. Yeah, sim through. Okay, so Steve Coulter, I declined that, and yet I still got the Steve Coulter thing, which is weird, but honestly, even if we released him, it's not going to have any real impact. So Hakeem and Chris Mullen both improved. Brad Doherty's up +6. Okay, now we're talking. So, honestly, there's probably a case for moving Dennis Johnson to shooting guard, starting Spud Webb, having Kevin Johnson as like the backup there. Though I'd probably want a real backup shooting guard, but Pippen can play there too. Okay. This is starting to kind of come together, I think. All right, Summer League. We're going to have some really good players getting some experience here. I think we are potential Summer League champions. So we don't need a point guard. Go ahead and Cedric Tony, I believe we've had before. Wingate was just on the team, right? Or was that a different guy named Wingate? No, there he was. Okay, so okay, don't want to edit. We'll sign Wingate. Small forward. John Gregg. Barry Stevens. Power forward, we'll take Jerry Reynolds. Sure. Got a whole bunch of centers. Mark Akers. Bobby Hurt. And then George Montgomery, which maybe we'll move a power forward into the center spot. That's a little bit of a weak spot for us compared to the other spots on the roster. Number 1 overall seed. Let's see what happens here. Let's just sim through it. And look at that. Summer League champions. Kevin Johnson and Scottie Pippen having some real strong games. Yeah, I think this team's got some real momentum. DC's got the All-Star game. That is fine. 1988 draft is coming up, which is who's in the 88 draft? I feel like it's not necessarily a great draft, but at this point, a guy like Mitch Richmond or something like that would actually be pretty good fit to the tier of player that we're really intrigued by. So we have that Huffs Hoops roster, but I'm going to keep up the search for accurate 1988. All right, there we go. Trilly to GOAT. Power ranking is second. That is good. Yeah, it's kind of funny that the computer is putting. I'm not sure if Webb's just disgruntled. I think that actually would probably change once we put once I move DJ to shooting guard, which he's been a shooting guard before, so I think this does make plenty of sense. Okay, so yeah, Spud Webb at point guard, Dennis Johnson, Chris Mullin, Brad Doherty, Hakeem, Scottie Pippen as a sixth man, and honestly, just having a good defensive player, and maybe he could even play that sort of point forward role. I mean, defensively, having him over Spud Webb would just be a really good upgrade. So yeah, a bunch of guys who are 71s. Apparently, the computer signed Scott Wedman. Which is actually the rare name I recognize among these guys. But yeah, a 9-man rotation based on what we have right now makes a lot of sense, though I think I would still rather get... Let's see, what do I want to get here? Probably a backup... It'd either be a backup center or a backup shooting guard. I can kind of see the argument either way. Let's just see who's available. I mean, based on the way last year went, it could be Adrian Dantley for all I know. So it's not Adrian Dantley, but Larry Nance is available. Otis Birdsong is available too, which is interesting. It's like Mark Eaton down there. David Thompson, my nemesis from the playoff series, is out there, but Michael Cooper actually would be an interesting fit with this team just because, a really strong defensive-minded player. I'm going to go back to the rotation and see what guys are doing, right? Yeah, so they're saying Olajuwon playing 48 minutes. It's obviously not going to happen. So Doherty obviously can play center, and surely will play center. Greg Anderson can probably play center if necessary as well. The problem is that my backup shooting guards effectively are, besides Pippen, who I'd be fine putting there, and besides Mullin, these tiny point guards. I don't want to do that. So let's see. So Birdsong, yeah, I think I'm gonna make a move for Michael Cooper. I think he just makes more sense with what I'm going for than even if Birdsong and Nance are better players. And unlike last time, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be making strong moves to try to just load up these guys at league minimum. Yeah, I think I'm content with this. Sacrificing a little defense at point guard, but late in games you can put Dennis Johnson at the point, put Michael Cooper at shooting guard, put Scottie Pippen at small forward. Oof, that would be, and these two behemoths at center would work out quite well. If you want to adjust the rotation to get Bogues in there, but yeah, that should. Yeah, I don't know why they're so insistent on putting like claiming Hakeem Olajuwon to play 48 minutes. That's obviously not going to happen. We'll adjust that down. We'll have like Brad Doherty playing some center. But for now, though, I like this team. Let's see who's extension eligible to start out the season. Looks like nobody, so all good there. And I think that this is a really good team. I think that this is a team that is going to start filling some of the holes from last year. Obviously, the loss of Adrian Dantley is huge, but we're going to have some really strong players. I might. So there is one thing that is honestly kind of a luxury, but I do like the idea of getting somebody who's just like a dynamic free throw shooter for the end of games. So our top free throw shooter is Chris Mullen. It's an 89. Dennis Johnson's an 87. And the fact that Dennis Johnson in particular is a good defensive player is really helpful. Are there any free agents who are just like, in the 90s on free throws? Uh, there are. Don't know if I necessarily feel like I have to like move heaven and earth to get these guys, but I think I'm good with this. I think that this is a team that has a lot of potential, and this is a team that I think, let's see how the power rankings go. Obviously, we're second in the NBA.com, second on, the NBA.com one just disappears. That's weird. 2K Sports has us at 18th. As it says in that sentence, they often do show a bias towards big market teams. Yeah, it seems that way. But yeah, second to Portland, I'll take that. And I will go ahead and wrap up this video, and I'll catch everybody towards the end of the 87-88 season. I genuinely believe that this is a team that could have some real potential going forward. And let's see what the future draft picks are looking like right now. We have 5 first-round picks. Only one of them has any protection. That's a top 3 protection. And frankly, it's the Mavericks who are like good. So that's probably not going to happen. But, not as many future picks in future drafts. So we do have an extra second in 1990. And then that's it as far as beyond 88. But my guess is I'm not going to use 5 draft picks. So I could be trading up, could be trading down. But, we'll see. Should be fun. But we'll go ahead and call that a wrap for now. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe and hopefully be interested in the next chapter of this series.